Hey everyone, Coach Patrick here, going to go through the Lake Placid bike course for you and the new course here for 2024, a variation of the old course. Some of the key elements remain, and I want to touch on some of the aspects of it for you right now, just before I dive into the specifics. Number one, Lake Placid is a challenging bike course, but it's only as challenging as you want to make it. Now that you know how hard it is, you can go out and prepare for it. You can prepare for the climbing. More importantly, you can prepare for the flats, free speed. You can prepare for the downhills and descending, and you can map out your nutrition that's going to be required for you to be successful. One of the challenges about a course like Lake Placid is that because of the hard sections for climbing, it really reduces your ability to take in calories unless you're really on the ball. And as a result, as you start falling short on your calories, the course doesn't get any easier, and then the weather comes in, it's later in the day, it gets really, really hard. It's like being on a long hill that never seems to end. You just run out of a gear and you're just in a tough spot. You're always trying to shift, and it's not happening. That's what happens in Lake Placid if you don't manage that nutrition. So do dial into this course section here, but also keep in mind that some of the basic protocols still remain the same for Lake Placid as you go forward. All right, so with that said, let's dial into the course here so you can see it, mapped it out for you. So in general, if you just follow the dot on the screen, the orange dot there, and I'll kind of zoom through this here. Just kind of click in a little bit so we can see, and we'll kind of break the course down. So you're going to come out of town, do your usual monkey business, and then climb out, do your long descent down. You've got your flat section here across the bottom. Let me zoom out one here so you can see it. Do macro to micro. We're going to come down. You can see we've made the sharp turn here in Keene at the bottom of the map. And then you got a little bit of bump, and then this sort of rolling flat section here, flattest and fastest section of the course. Now the new section of the course falls right into this window right in here, okay? Which is to say that you're going to basically come in, take a right at this covered bridge. It's really pretty. In fact, the map I have you taking a little extra right. TBD if you go around this park or if you go right up to the intersection and turn. Unknown, but there was a little park there. The nice part is it's going to take you right down here and bring you across on the other side of the river. Now when you cross over, people are going to ask like, oh, hey, what is that? What does it look like? What does the road quality look like? Let's just drop in here. Oh, look at that. You can't actually see it unless you go there. Who does that, right? What are these Lake Placid people not giving you chances to sort of preview what the course looks like, right? Anything out here? Everyone's saying, no, sir. No way, no how. You know why they don't want you out there looking at that course right now? Because for the most part, nobody goes out there, right? That's what it looks like. So let's drop in on the satellite map here. Take a look at it here. Zoom way in here on this road so we get a sense. Typical road, right? Clean, nice, nothing too crazy about it. All the way out, you can see like, minimal shoulder, so a little different than your state road. It's gonna be a little bit quieter. Personally, I love this kind of road, and in fact, training out Lake Placid did a fair amount of riding back in this area and beyond. Now, lucky for you, you're not going up into these hills in here because it's legit hilly. But what you do have in this section in here is you're basically going from here. Here's your right-hand turn. Up here, over, and then down into the town. So as a result, we've got this section here with two decent climbs, right? So this climb here ends up being just about 2 miles. I'll probably say about 1.5 miles of good work, but there's some good kickers up here at the top. You're gonna drop down a little bit and you got another bump. So in this case, like once you make it to the top, you're gonna wanna keep your momentum, get as much over this next climb as you can, so you're good. That's what the smart athletes will do. But if you're not careful in here, this little grinder is gonna get you. Because essentially you're gonna turn and flip it. Let me zoom out. You'll come out this other section of town in here, and this is like a slight uphill here section of you as you climb up, and then you take that right steep climb. So what used to be sort of a nice flat section before you hit this climb, now you've got this little kicker section here before you hit that climb. In my mind, what that means is by the time you hit this climb here on lap 1, you're going to be feeling the burn a little bit earlier, and on lap 2, you'll be hella feeling that burn. In fact, this climb here will probably feel like this climb usually did on lap 2, but you still have to do this climb. And reminder, this section of the climb is really hard because you do have this full climb back into town, which is hard. Okay, all right, so let's dive into the different sections of the course just so you understand. The way that I like to think about the course is actually, it really starts, the climb out of town really starts right here in this section. Because you're starting with this whole climb section, you climb right into town, just like that whole section, right? But then you actually climb through town and up and out the other side. Which is really hard. People don't recognize this section, but you've got this whole other section of climbing in here that gets you out of town. And that section really hurts you. And so when you think about it, when you're going through and structuring the course, where are the areas you have to be smart? You got to be really smart here on this first climb. This is the steepest and most sustained climb that you have on the day. And it's really tricky because it's just got some false flats before the climb up after the bobsled. So as a result, coming out is really important. So these first 10 miles are some of the most important miles that you're going to ride all day. Okay, and you're technically not at the start of lap 2 until you've come all the way back to the top of this descent on the second lap. People say, oh, I made it to made it into town. Like, I've done lap 1. No, you haven't. You haven't done lap 1 until you get out the other side. So you need to burn that into your memory banks right now. So this is really challenging. Sit up, small gear, be really smart inside the section. Use the downhills, get some speed. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's not until you see the downhill sign with the yellow sign on the trucks that you know you're actually going downhill. From here, you've got this twisty, winding descent downhill, which is like super fun if you love it and super terrifying if you don't, into the down left-hand turn, and then you go over. There are some bumps inside here, but again, ideally you do a recon on the course so you know how to manage these and you'll be fine. Now you're going to hit the steep section, these two little kickers here in the new section of road. You come back and you have this classic climb. And this climb for me, where you have the turn at the corner and you've got all the way to the top here, is way longer than you want. You get a little bit of a break on Hazelton Road, and then you start this process of the long slog climb back into town with a couple breaks. Now, the key part for you on the sections back into town that I think are really important, yes, you've got the climb over here to the top. This is brutal just because it takes forever and it's relentless. It's a straight shot. You get a break over Hazelton Road, little outback. You come in, and then you start the little bump here, a little slight descent out past all the funky restaurants, and then you start to climb up over the raging river, over the Hungry Trout, over to Whiteface, where you got the steep climb and the kicker right after it, and then you've got all the work into town. Now, if you take a look at this section of the course right here, the steep climb to Whiteface, and then the little kicker after it, those are the worst sections of the climb. Then you got like one little more here on the rocky road, but really other than that, the climb is actually pretty mild. And if you can be smart about it and you have the right gearing, you can spin through some of these steeper climbs as you start to do the math on the dial, and you're actually able to build some speed on the flatter sections. And your job on this whole return trip is to be smart on the climb, sit up, breathe, keep your fingers loose, spin, do all those things. The minute you get to the top and you can start going down, drop in the aero bars, shift the gears, get back to work, and try and get your speed back up as much as possible. In an ideal world, your differential between your first split and your first lap and your second lap is like 10 to 15 minutes. That's a really well executed Lake Placid. Normally executed Lake Placids, 25, 30 minutes. Super fast on lap 1, or just normal lap 1 and super bad on lap 2. And it's because they push too hard on some of these key hills, okay? So when you think about success for the course, again, really smart first 10 miles. Enjoy the descent, make sure you get your nutrition, enjoy that descent, enjoy the flats here, stay loose, etc. Understand you got these two kickers, and then you got this block of work to get back into town. It's not all the end of days, but it is helpful for you to really think about how you're going to pace yourself over time. Again, like I mentioned to you before, the return into town isn't steep except for a couple key sections. So if I was coming out before the race, obviously you want to do a loop to recon. But even if it was just race week, for example, I would definitely do the ride out of town here and do the descent. Okay, I would want to see that section. This section on these kickers over here, I'm not worried about, but I would love to ride from here on the course, which is mile 36. I'd love to ride that return section back into town here. So that is, let's pull it up. That's 18 miles. That'll take you about an hour and a half on average. So one day you could do the descent. Maybe that's like the last day, like the Friday before a Sunday race. But maybe on Thursday you get dropped off down here and you do the rest of that ride back into town. So you really get a sense of like where the work is and not. And don't ride it like you're going to ride on race day with your tapered watts, but really pace yourself and get into it. All right. Hope this was helpful. If you've got questions, comments, feedback, let me know. Otherwise, still stick with the tri-bike. We want to use it, but be really smart. Maximize it on those aero sections. Use the bike to carry your fuel, and I'll see you out there.